Ninjas, ancient shadow warriors of a bygone age, and the most badass thing a 10-year-old boy could ever imagine. But did ninjas, as we know them, actually exist? Or were they just a clever marketing ploy to sell movies and toys to kids? In today's video, we're gonna take a deep dive into the origins of the ninja to determine which myths are fact and which are fiction. And as an added bonus, we're gonna review the Hanwei Kouga Ninja Toe, which I guarantee you is the sickest ninja sword you've ever seen. But before we dive in, I wanna thank the sponsor for today's video, and that's Arashi Castles of Sin. If you own a VR headset and at any point in your life thought to yourself, hey, being a ninja would be pretty sweet, then boy is this the game for you. You play as the Shinobi Kenshiro and you've been tasked with killing the 6 Oni of Iga, a group of demonic samurais who've been slaying entire bloodlines and capturing castles throughout the region. Armed with an arsenal of ninja weapons and your trusty wolf companion Haru, you'll infiltrate castles Tenchu style with a nice mix of stealth and sword combat. If you want to see what it's like, I did a video about it over on my gaming channel Node. Oh my god, what? Ah, holy shit! This game really is a love letter to ninja fans and the perfect sponsor for today's video. It's out now on PSVR 2, Steam, and MetaQuest headsets, so if you want to check it out, then hit the links down in the description below. When I was a little kid, I was obsessed with ninjas. I dressed as a ninja for Halloween all throughout elementary school. I went from being a die-hard Ninja Turtle fan into being obsessed with Batman, who's basically just a super rich ninja. To an 80s and 90s kid, nothing was cooler than a ninja. They were dark, brooding, and mysterious, and we were constantly being eye-blasted with them in popular media. And thanks to movies and TV shows, the idea of the ninja has been mysticized beyond recognition. It also doesn't help that ninjutsu is the easiest martial art to lie about. Since there are no true masters or associations to keep them in check, any random ass person can say they know ninjutsu. But here's a quick tip. If anyone tells you that they know ninjutsu or are a ninjutsu master, they're lying, and they just want your money and attention. All of them, and I mean every single one of them, including the Japanese ones, but especially the white ones, are full of shit. And if you want proof, just ask to see them spar someone at full speed, because I promise you they won't. These fake ninjutsu masters are just people who can cut it at real martial arts, so they resort to lying about their training, which is why they fight exclusively in slow motion. Ninjutsu is the art of spycraft and guerrilla warfare, and you can't be a master of that if you haven't worked as a spy during a war. It's really that simple. And if we're gonna talk about ninja myths, we've gotta talk about the iconic ninja sword. This is a sword channel after all, and for that, I have the perfect blade. This is the Hanwei Kouga Ninja Toe by Paul Chen. It's priced at around $500 and is one of 2 premium ninja swords they offer. Their practical version runs about half the price and was actually my second sword I ever bought back in high school. It served me well, so it seems only fitting that I now own this upgraded and blinged out version. The big boy version, for cool big boys like me. This is the Mac Daddy of ninja swords. This baby's got it all. From the all blacked out fittings to the iron reinforced saya, this is the quintessential ninja sword. Now, before we take a closer look at this super sick sword, I wanted to do a little history lesson because there is a metric ass ton of misinformation out there about ninjas. Traces of the shinobi can be found as early as the 12th century in Japan. And I'm not talking about your run-of-the-mill assassin or spy. Those have been around since the beginning of time. I'm talking true ninjas, practitioners of ninjutsu. The original training manuals that ninjutsu is based off are derived from the 13th chapter of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, entitled The Use of Spies. While most people imagine ninjas as assassins and all black bopping across rooftops, they actually originated as mountainous nomads. They were poor peasants with no way to farm, so they resorted to selling their ability to survive in harsh mountainous conditions as spies. You see, this was during the Sengoku period in the 15th century, a time of constant warfare, lords vying for power and land all throughout the region. And if you know anything about war, you know that conducting large-scale military operations through treacherous and uncharted mountain terrain sucks. And unfortunately for these lords, 73% of Japan is mountainous. That's right, ninjas were wilderness survivalists, basically insurgents who specialized in guerrilla warfare, not badass assassins or martial arts experts. Because these ninja knew the mountains like the back of their hands, they could easily track military troops completely undetected and survive all alone in the mountains for weeks on end. A little bit of reconnaissance here, a little bit of arson there, and you could cripple an entire military advance just with a few well-trained ninja. This made ninja a real hot commodity, which led to the forming of the Iga and Kouga ninja clans, the two main documented villages devoted to the specific training of ninjas. Now, these men and women were built different. They were true ninjas, trained from an early age in the art of spycraft. This was the golden age of ninjas. This is when they were popping off the hardest. It's true. It's true, they were.
This is when they were popping off and bopping around.
They were popping off, they were bopping it up, they were scooting around. Everyone had ninjas back then.
Pop, bopping, and popping.
They were getting it in and getting it done. That's for sure. There are many well-documented uses of ninjas throughout this time, from ninjas disguising themselves as concubines to assassinate officials, to large-scale assaults on castles and fortresses. Ninjas were very much a real part of the Japanese military, which is pretty sick. The remoteness of their villages allowed their training to remain a well-guarded secret, and this is where a lot of the myths about ninjas come in. For instance, when you hear the word ninja, you probably think of an all-black sneaking suit. And while there are definitely occasions for this, their use was actually extremely rare and more byproduct of entertainment at the time. You see, the all-black ninja suit only really became a thing thanks to kabuki theater. The stagehands would wear all black outfits and masks in order to blend into the background, and having a random stagehand pop out as an assailant during the show was both exciting and unexpected for the audience. The ninja was an instant hit, the visual antithesis to the colorful, honor-bound samurai, the disposable, masked bad guy. This is how ninja were first introduced to the public, and it's carried on into paintings, books, and later adapted into movies and every other form of media for centuries to come, cementing the look of ninjas firmly into the collective unconscious. Japan fully embraced the popularity of ninjas right from the start, seeing them as a way to make money, from selling seats to a kabuki show in feudal times to the movies and anime of today. So the image you have in your head when you think of ninjas is more based on marketing than anything else. Because in reality, ninjas look a lot less like this and more like this. You see, a spy's best asset is plausible deniability. It's a lot easier to get close to your target, to gather information, or assassinate them if you blend in. Wearing an all-black suit with a sword on your back is the quickest way to get tortured to death. So while obviously it's fun to think of a ninja wearing an all-black suit all the time, more often than not, they're probably wearing plain clothes. So while ninjas definitely existed, a hotly debated topic is whether or not their swords did. The straight-bladed ninja sword has been popularized in movies for ages, but did they ever exist? The first actual depiction of the ninja sword was back in 1956 in a booklet entitled Ninjitsu by Heishichiro Okuse. On top of that, there are no historically recovered ninja-style swords in any museum from feudal times. So many will tell you the ninja sword never actually existed, but through my research, I actually found a pretty interesting explanation. You see, Japan entered the Iron Age really late compared to its neighbors, China and Korea. In fact, from 300 BC to around the 1st century, most of their swords were imported from these two countries. One of the earliest Japanese swords is called the chokuto, which is basically just a copy of the Korean jikdo, a single-edged straight sword used primarily by infantry. Not until around the 7th century did Japan's metallurgy advance enough for them to start making curved, differentially hardened blades, which became the tachi and katana we know today. My theory is that since ninjas originated as poor mountain peasants, it makes sense that the swords they had access to were old pre-katana blades passed down to them by their ancestors. You see, katana were reserved for samurai. They were a status symbol for the rich and powerful. But the chokuto were mass-produced for foot soldiers in ancient times. So it would be a lot easier to get your hands on one of those than it would be to get a katana. And it didn't matter that they were old and not very good quality, because ninjas weren't looking to get into sword fights. These swords were used for killing unarmored and unsuspecting targets. Sword fighting a group of samurai with a sword this short would almost certainly mean death. This also meant that if the ninja was captured or killed, their sword wouldn't give away where they came from. You see, when katanas are forged, the smith will usually chisel their name onto the tang of the blade, an artist's signature if you will. But chokotos were mass-produced for infantry, so they didn't get the same treatment. And as for the infamous square ninja tsuba, there's a very simple explanation. They were cheaper and easier to forge than round ones. At the time, tsubas were a way to bling out your sword, a way to show off your wealth and show everyone just how cool you are. It was basically the modern day equivalent of a watch, except had a 3-foot-long blade attached to it, giving a whole new meaning to the phrase, looking sharp. So it makes sense a ninja would have something plain and simple like a square tsuba. If you think about it, a ninja sword needed to be like a burner gun, something cheap and old that you wouldn't think twice about ditching in a river. Now the sword I have for you today is the opposite of that. This sword screams, I am a ninja, and I want everyone to know. It features black genuine ray skin under an extremely tight battle-wrapped cotton ito. Even the bamboo pegs are painted black, which is such a nice touch. And when I say this wrapping is tight, I mean this shit is tight. I can barely move it no matter how hard I push. Really impressive. You can tell by the wrapping alone that this sword was made for battle, not that display mall ninja crap. It features a dachi style kashira, which is a really nice addition. I haven't seen this on any other ninja swords. It's just so much more secure. Like, I could pull on this all day. There's no way this is coming off. Everything about this sword screams badass. There are iron manuki secured to the side to allow you to always know which way your blade is facing, which is super useful when drawing swords off your back. And I love the thin tapered hourglass look of the handle. It's sleek, elegant, and feels incredibly sexy in the hands. Really nice stuff. It has the classic square ninja tsuba, but features these nice tapered edges that complement the hourglass shape of the handle. It's got a nice smooth raised lip with some cutouts to give it some character without feeling too tacky or Hollywood. Everything transitions really nicely. Even the raised part on the kashira is rounded and feels really nice and comfortable in the hands. Now the saya is just as impressive and detailed as the handle. It's iron reinforced in 3 separate spots with the sageo running through 2 iron rings, allowing you to easily carry it on your back. The sageo itself is actually pretty disappointing. It's pretty thin and basic, but at this price point, it's kind of to be expected with Hanwei. I'll give it a pass though, because it's easy enough to swap out, and all the detail and value you get for this sword is still impressive for what you're paying. The saya has a nice textured feel that gives it a satin look, which I love. And I mean, just look at this crazy pointed end cap it comes with. Not only does it protect the scabbard, but it turns the saya itself into a bludgeoning weapon. But the real purpose of this is actually way more badass. It's to stick in the ground so you can use the square tsuba as a stepping point to climb buildings and trees. Pretty sweet. All right, now let's take a look at this blade. This thing is just like a big dagger. Whew. This features a razor sharp 22.5-inch differentially hardened straight blade made of 1566 high carbon steel. It's got a nice clay tempered way of hamon and rounded kasaki, which is pretty uncommon for ninja swords. You usually see them have the angular tips, but I like this because it kind of makes it stand out a little more. I do wish that the hamon was a little more prominent. It's kind of cloudy and not super well defined like other Hanwei swords, but for what you're paying, this polished job is adequate. I did notice that there are some spots in the blade where there are signs of rust forming, but I kind of understand because this sword has been sitting in a warehouse for a very long time, and it's nothing that some polishing won't get rid of. All right, that's enough yapping. It's time to see this baby in action. All right, so we are going to test out the Hanwei Kouga Ninja Toe, which I currently have on my back. Really, really cool sword. They have this super cool retention system with these little iron rings, which make mounting it on your back really easy, really comfortable. So I know in this video I've been kind of ragging on ninjas a bit. Obviously, it's really fun to dress up as a ninja, fantasize about being a ninja. It looks freaking sweet. No one can deny that. So, you know, who am I? I'm not a ninja, and nobody is. So if anyone tells you they are, they're a liar. They're just a liar, straight up. All right, so let's test this baby out. The blade is really short. It's only 22 inches long. It just feels like a big knife. It looks like a big knife. And the balance is, it's okay. The Suba is pretty heavy since it's so large that the balance is, it's pretty good. It's like right around where you want it to be. It feels like it wants to be thrusted. Compared to thrusting katana, it would be way easier. I also fractured my wrist about a month ago, and it's pretty much healed up. So we'll see. I'm gonna try not to push it too hard. So if my cuts are a little off today, then you know why. As expected, made it through the target. It's a really short blade, so I gotta get super close to my target. Okay, nice. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Cuts really cleanly, really cleanly. Ooh, that hurt. That got me good.
Oh, that got me good.
Don't do Tamashigiri with a broken wrist. Ugh. But you know what? Even with the broken wrist, those some pretty clean cuts. Very nice. Able to do single hand cuts. The shortness of the blade does make it so you have to basically be this close to your target. Like, this is as far as I can be away from my target while still hitting it. And that's really close. That's like kissing distance. And you generally don't want to get kissing distance with your opponents. Unless you do, I don't know, depends.
The old kiss and thrust.
Yeah, the old kiss and thrust. Ninjas are famous for that.
So romantic.
If you're a really romantic ninja, you know. And you know what? Ninjas are pretty romantic. Nice sword. The handle is really nice on this. That's honestly my favorite part about the sword. Cuts really nicely, but the extremely short blade makes it a little awkward to get this close. As you saw, I did another slice that in any other situation would have made it through, but it only cut kind of into it. You definitely realize it's how close you are to the target, which is why if a ninja actually wanted to carry a weapon on him, let's say assaulting a castle or something, and you knew you were gonna fight some people, you would just bring a regular size katana. Why would you put yourself at risk? You could put it on your back, you could do everything you need to with a regular size katana. This is like a kind of weird middle ground. Pretty limited uses in practicality, but it is really cool, super badass, and it's a great piece to add to your collection. It's definitely one of my favorites now. It's very unique too, because I own a bunch of katanas. This really stands out.
All right, to no surprise, this thing cuts as good as it looks. Some will call me a Hanwei / Paul Chen fanboy, and they'd be right, because they make swords like this. They have one of the highest consistencies in terms of quality in the industry, and more importantly, their sword theming is unmatched. Which is why I'm gonna give the Hanwei Kouga Ninja Toe 5 Naruto shirts that say Naruto on them out of 5. The amount of character and detail you get for the price is exceptional. It really is the most authentic looking and feeling ninja sword I've ever seen. Even though the Sageo is pretty thin and the Hamon is kind of lackluster, I'm still really impressed, and this is now one of my favorite pieces in my collection. Well, hope you guys learned something from this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you also really like ninjas and you think they're super cool and you want to be best friends and come over to my house and start a secret ninja club. Please don't tell my mom.